Hello, everyone. My name is Brandie Mathison-Klein. I am a realtor with Keller Williams Realty, and today I really wanted just to be able to take some time to explain and answer a lot of questions that people have when they are considering a career in real estate. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and we're going to be touching base on a lot of the most common questions that people have. So I'd first like to just start off by giving you guys a little bit of information about me, a little bit of my story and how I got started in real estate. I got started in real estate when I was about 22 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And at the time, I was a mom with two very young children. I believe my children were 2 and 3 years old. And at that time in that season in life, we were just really struggling financially. And so we had heard that we could make a lot of money selling timeshares. So we got our real estate license. When I say we, it was me and my husband at the time, got our real estate license and went out and started selling timeshares and found out that I really did not like selling timeshares. And I really wasn't that good at it either. In fact, selling timeshares was the only job that I've ever been fired from. So I figured, well, I've got my real estate license and I might as well go ahead and make something and do something with it. So I went out and started selling residential real estate. When I went and talked with a couple of the brokerages just to kind of get an idea of where I wanted to hang my license, I will have to say that I was a little bit discouraged because I was told by a couple of different people, we came in, took a personality profile, and I was actually told that I would probably really struggle in being successful in real estate. And I have to just be totally honest with you, what that did was it really put a fire in my belly to prove them wrong. And at that time in my life, failure was not an option for me. For me, it was all about providing for my family. It was about putting food on the table, clothes on my children's back, and making sure that we were able to make ends meet. And so that was really what stemmed my passion and my desire to be successful and just really not let failure be an option. So fast forward, been in real estate now for 18 years. And about 10 years ago, my business was to the point where I could not manage all of the business on my own. I had to make one of two choices. I either had to make a decision to turn business away or to start leveraging myself, because at that point in time, I was working about 70 hours a week and I was burning the candle at both ends. I was really getting burnt out. And so what I decided to do was I decided to go ahead and get an assistant. And from there, grew the Mathison-Klein group. My husband also went into real estate full time, and we continued to grow our team and our business. Now in 2020, we have a team of 12, and we are closing. Last year, we closed 191 transactions to the tune of $58 million in business, and we are really hitting our stride and just enjoying life. So that's a little bit about my story and where I started to where I am now. I'm extremely passionate about helping others succeed as they get started into real estate. And I think more importantly, really being able to help guide people that decide real estate as a career on how to go about having a good work-life balance. So we're going to be talking about some of those things today. So the first thing that we want to talk about is really just discussing really what is required to get your real estate license. So the first thing that you need to do and understand is that, you just need your high school diploma. You do not need a college degree. And then you need to be able to go to the real estate school, which they have online courses, or they also have in-person courses that you can take. I've listed a couple of websites that you can check out. My personal recommendation is, if at all possible, to attend in person. And I personally went to Clermont Real Estate School and have recommended probably 20 to 30 people to get their real estate license at that same real estate license school, and they've done an excellent job. They just have a really good track record. The passing rate for a person to pass the state exam is less than 40%. So it is a very difficult state exam. The class test is extremely easy to take. And the class really just entails a 63-hour pre-licensing class. The pre-licensing class is really just learning all of the legalities on how to stay out of jail and not do something illegal. The pre-licensing class does not tell you anything about how to actually perform the duties of being a real estate agent. So I just need to make sure that everybody understands that once you get your real estate license, that's when it's just begun. That's when the fire hose turns on, and you have to be ready to be a little bit overwhelmed with all of the information that's thrown at you on what it actually takes to be an active agent. The cost is extremely inexpensive. It's less than $400 to take the class, which is extremely affordable. They do have different types of learning. So you can do an online school where you're going at your own pace. The in-person class, sometimes they have a 1-week crash course, so you could take it in 7 days. They have some that are, balanced out over a couple week time. So you really are able to pick a selection of what's going to work best for you. So when you're looking at how much it's going to cost to get started in real estate, what I've done here is really just outlined some of the different fees that you have to be expected to pay for in order to actually have what it takes, the tools that you need, and all of that to be an active real estate agent. So first, obviously, you've got to go to the real estate class. And then you also have to pay for an application and a background check. And then you've got to also pay for the state exam. So once you get your license and you are licensed in the state of Florida, you're also going to have your Realtor dues and your MLS dues. So those are going to be, and a lot of times those are prorated based off of the time of year that you're joining. So if you're joining halfway through the year, you're not going to have to pay the full amount. But your average cost for the Realtor and MLS dues is going to be about the $1,500. I personally strongly suggest that you incorporate your business into an LLC or a corporation off the get-go, and that would just help you with your tax aspect of things. So that would be about $500. Any brokerage that you hang your license at, they typically are going to charge you a monthly brokerage fee. And different brokerages charge different things, charge different amounts, and it also includes different things. So when you are interviewing brokers, you're going to want to identify, what do I get with my monthly fee? Most cases, a lot of times, your monthly fee is going to include your Arizona emissions insurance. It might include some marketing privileges, different things like that. You're also going to want to set aside about $500 for additional training. As I had mentioned, once you get your real estate license, that's just learning how to stay out of jail. And the actual learning part of how to be an agent and to be able to function in the world as a realtor is going to require some additional training. And then you're also going to want to make sure that you have money set aside for supplies, signs, lock boxes. You want to be able to do some marketing and get business cards, do some social media networking, maybe some postcards, different things like that. You're also going to definitely need to have a up-to-date computer, printer, and phone. All of those things are going to be very necessary, and a reliable vehicle. But most people have those things anyways. So your basic startup cost, you want to be able to set aside about $5,500. just to be able to get started. The other thing that I'm going to also talk about and recommend is that you have about 6 months of your living expenses set aside so that if you were not to make $1 in real estate, that you have the ability to pay all of your bills for a minimum of 6 months. The reason why I say that is because it does take a ramp up period to be able to get a line of business and to get some things going in your pipeline and to start seeing your first closing. And it typically takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months before you'll actually see your first closing. So it's really important, if you have no money, you're going to create a whole lot of stress, and a buyer and a seller can actually see that stress coming right through if they feel that you are desperate for a sale. So a typical week of a realtor, let's talk about that a little bit. So I know that we've all seen the, Chip and Joanna Gaines shows, we've seen HGTV, we've seen Love It or List It, and all of those shows really kind of predicate a fun, whimsical feel for a real estate agent. And this really kind of outlines what a true week will look like. And this is once you're kind of getting into the swing of things. So no matter if you are at day 1 or if you are in year 20, you absolutely have to spend a minimum of 2 hours, would be my recommendation, a day doing active lead generation. You're going to want to have a contact management database where you're able to identify who you need to follow up with, who you've spoken to, and who you've made contact with, what kind of marketing you're sending out to those people, and when was the last time you spoke to them. You're always going to want to be actively lead generating. And a lot of times that is an agent's biggest mistake that they make, is that either they don't lead generate or they lead generate up to the point that they start getting business, and then they stop lead generating, spend all of their time and focus on their client that is under contract. And once that client closes, they are completely back to square one. So there's a lot of roller coaster syndrome in the real estate world. Lead generation is not always fun. However, it's absolutely necessary. So if you are not a people person, if you don't like picking up the phone, if you don't enjoy rejection and you can't take the rejection, then this might be a little bit more of a stressful position for you. The other thing that hopefully you're doing is going on about 2 to 3 appointments a week. It is extremely common to have to be flexible and be available on weekends and evenings, especially for buyers and sellers. They're getting off of work, and husband and wife often have to meet together. So you're going to need to make yourself available a lot of those times. There's also going to be a lot of follow-up. So it's not very often that you have one conversation with a client and they're ready to be able to move forward. It might often take months for you to have a conversation, follow up with that person 2, 3, 4 times before they're actually able to make a buying or selling decision. And so that's why it's really important as well to have that contact management database in place so that you can remember, oh, I talked to Susie 3 months ago and it's time for me to follow up with her again. You also are going to want to be adept and knowledgeable about the marketing that you want to do for your business. So you're going to need to understand how to work social media, how to, if you're doing direct mail, postcards, a website, whatever your marketing campaign is going to look like, you're going to need to be knowledgeable enough to dive into that, or be willing to outsource it and pay money to have somebody do that marketing for you. Once you have some contracts in the pipeline and you are actively under contract with people, then your week might also look like attending an inspection, a home inspection, which is about 2 or 3 hours, going to a walkthrough prior to closing to make sure that everything is as it should be, so that when your buyers or are getting ready to close on the property, then everything is good to go. And then attending closing, that's the funnest day of them all because everyone should be happy, and that's when you're getting paid. The other thing too is, obviously writing up offers. So negotiating offers, those two things go hand in hand together. Understanding how to negotiate properly for your client is going to be something that's so critically important. And then there's just a lot of paperwork that is involved in the process. Attention to detail, a lot of email communication, because in any real estate transaction, there's typically 20 to 30 people that are all working behind the scenes in order to make that transaction come together to the closing table. So as the realtor, you're really the liaison between the buyer's agent, the listing agent, depending on which hat you're wearing, the title company, and also the mortgage lender. So you're communicating with all of these people, and then you're having to give those updates to your client, to the other agent, to ensure that everything is running smoothly. So there's a lot of email correspondence and text messaging, phone conversations, different things like that. So that's about what your typical week is going to look like. So a lot of times people wonder, well, how much does an average agent make? How much could I potentially make if I decide to get into real estate? And really, an average real estate agent here in the Central Florida area is going to sell about 9 homes in a year. And I know that might not sound like a lot, but when you look at how much work goes into selling a home and then all of the work that goes into just getting that one buyer or that one seller, that is the average number of homes. It might seem, well, that would seem really easy to do. And unfortunately, it's not always as easy as it looks. So if you take the average sales price in our area, right now we're looking at about $275,000. The average commission, I factored it off of 2.7%, so that would bring you a commission of about $74.25. So if you closed 9 homes and you made $7,425 per closing, that would bring in a gross commission income of about $66,825. So after you've paid your taxes to the IRS and after you've paid also brokerage split to your broker, your take-home pay is going to be about $30,000 for the year for selling those 9 homes. So if you're thinking, well, I am definitely above average, I could sell more homes, then you absolutely could. There's a lot of people that sell the more than average. So let's just using if you were to sell 35 plus homes a year, same information as far as purchase price and average commission above, your income, gross income would be about $250,000. So your net income after taxes, marketing, brokerage fees, things like that, you're looking at about take-home pay of between $100,000 to $125,000. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that as you're getting started in this business, I would definitely venture to say and count on that you're going to be selling more along the average side than the above average side. However, there's always those agents out there that totally blow the socks off and impress everybody with their results that they're able to get. So I don't want anyone to put a glass ceiling on what you're able to accomplish and achieve because your passion and your desire and your ability to learn and be disciplined is 100% in your court as to what you do. So to give you a little bit of statistic, currently right now, less than 3% of the agents in our market area are selling more than 35 homes a year. And that is based off of an agent count in our market of 2,400 agents. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the pros about being a single agent. And then also we're going to dive into talking a little bit about what it looks like to be on a team. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each of those different scenarios so that you can determine what you feel is going to be best for you in your life, in your season, in your business. So when you're a single agent, there's some great things that go with that. You're the owner of your own business. You get to choose exactly how you want to run your business. You get to choose your level of customer service. And everything that you're doing is 100% your discretion. Obviously, as long as it's within the law and your broker is okay with it. Your profit margin is also going to be a little bit higher if you're not leveraging or hiring anybody out or working underneath anybody. Then you're going to make a good percent of your profits. So the other thing is that you fail or succeed on your own efforts. So you're not relying on anybody else's efforts. So if you are a go-getter, you're extremely disciplined and consistent with your efforts, you are going to be extremely successful at this. The other great thing is that you don't have to be managed by people and you don't have to manage other people. So that can be a big blessing, especially if you really like to be able to do things the way that you want to do them. If you don't like being told what to do, then being a single agent is really probably a very good option for you. And so the other thing is you get to do things your way. I kind of hit on that up at the top, but you get to do it when you want, how you want, all of those things above. There's just a lot of joy and pride of business ownership. So it's a really awesome feeling being able to be a single agent. It also offers the opportunity that if you did want to build a team, you've got that ability to do so as well. So some of the cons of being a single agent, and this is really, I've lived life in both worlds. And so the things that I did not enjoy about being a single agent were I literally had to be the master of all trades. So I had to be able to prepare and create all of my own marketing materials. I had to be very disciplined on doing my lead generation, all of my contract to close. I had to be able to create systems that would keep me in check so that every client would try to get the same level of service and that I wouldn't forget the things that I did in last transaction, moving it over to the first transaction. You've got to be the one to go out there, put signs and lock boxes up and measure houses. And if you're not hiring out photography, you've got to be a professional photographer and make sure that the photography looks good if you're taking listings. So there's some of those different aspects. Not having any leverage. And oftentimes, if you are busy in your real estate world, it can very easily lead to overworking and getting burnt out. That's exactly what happened to me when I, at that time, my kids were like 10 and 11 years old. And I was literally working 70 plus hours a week, every week, just trying to keep my head above water. And I started to get resentful because, my son would have a birthday party and I had set everything up. I was so excited. I didn't have any appointments set for that day. And then I'd have a buyer that would call me that I had taken out 5 other times before, and a new house just came on the market and they were demanding to go take a look at that home right in the middle of my son's birthday party. And so it was those types of things that really led me to personally building a team. So kind of going on to the next one, it all kind of runs in together. Not having the leverage forces you to sometimes have to give up family time. It can make it difficult to take time off. If someone's calling at 6 o'clock at night and you just sat down for dinner and they've got a question, you might need to answer that. So I always encourage people to put boundaries in place. I finally had to put some boundaries in place and stop answering my phone after 6 o'clock at night. And if I did answer my phone, I would have to pay my kids a quarter, and I just made it the exception to answer the phone after 6 p.m. The other thing is you're taking on all the risk. You're investing your own money, your own time. So 100% of your success or failure is once again on you. You also don't have accountability. No one's going to be telling you to go out there and do your prospecting or go knock on doors. So if you don't have that passion and you don't have that motivation and you just don't feel like doing it, then it's going to be a very uphill battle in being able to get people under contract and to have an active pipeline of business to close what you want to close. At times it can feel overwhelming. This is whether you're as a single agent or on a team, and there is also can be a very high stress level. So, in the real estate world, everything seems to be time sensitive. If you're working with a buyer, you don't want them to miss out on the perfect home. If you're working with a seller, you want to make sure that everything is up and on the market in a timely fashion. Communication with everybody in a timely fashion is very important, and everything is just time sensitive. So, talking about working on a real estate team and some of the pros to consider if you're trying to determine what's going to be the best for you is really, you're going into a team structure. So the team structure, there's going to be infrastructure and people that are in place. There's going to be systems that are already in place. And so by having the structure, the systems, and the leverage, you're able to go out there and do one thing and focus on that one thing and do it really, really well. On a team structure, you basically have usually the job of either only working with buyers or only working with sellers. And in most cases, if you are newer to the business, you start out on the buyer side, and then as you become more experienced, then you have earned the opportunity to work with sellers. So by having that one focus, you become really good and confident in that one thing while you are learning the other aspects of all of the different things that go into a real estate transaction. So it really kind of peels back all of the onion layers. You get one specific job, you perform that job very, very well, and the rest of your team can make you look really good at what you're doing. The other thing too is having the accountability is vitally important in ensuring the consistency and the discipline that is often needed in order to continue that lead generation that I was talking about at the beginning. Because without the lead generation, what you're doing today for your lead generation is a direct reflection of what your income is going to be in the next 60 to 90 days. The other thing that I find to be very beneficial is that you are getting training. So with a team, they're training you in the ways that they have been able to be successful. So you're learning their scripts, their dialogues, their programs and systems. And by getting all of that training, you are learning it in the form and the fashion in which you're going to be most successful. And then you're also going to be able to test it out and be able to gauge, am I doing this right? Am I not doing it right? I know for our team, we do a I do, we do, you do. So you're going to shadow me on how I do XYZ, then we're going to do it together, and then you're going to do it while I shadow you. Not to say that you don't get training as a single agent. You absolutely, if you're with the right brokerage, you can get absolutely phenomenal training. And so I don't want you to misunderstand that, because anywhere that you go, you can get some training. The other thing is that on a team, you tend to have a faster learning curve because you are diving in and you are focusing on that one part of the business and you're not having to learn it all, which can be a little bit overwhelming. You're going to end up selling more homes. So if an average agent sells 9 homes in a year and an average agent on a team is selling 24 homes in a year, then in essence, you are getting almost 3 years worth of experience in 1 year versus what it would take if you were an average agent just closing those 9 deals a year. Also, being on a team allows you to have a little bit better work-life balance. Usually there is some lead rotation. You have the ability to go on vacation, and you've got somebody there to be able to cover your business and different things like that, so that you have a little bit more established downtime. You're still going to be working nights. You're still going to be working weekends. All of those things are still in place. However, you do have a little bit of leverage in saying, hey, I'm going to be out. And so I'm not, if the phone rings, you don't necessarily have to be the one to answer it if you're not on leads for that time. The other thing is usually when you join a real estate team, that team has a good reputation. They've got really good reviews. They've got the built-in experience. And so if you're coming into that team, you're able to really ride the coattails of the team's reputation, branding, and experience that's already in place. You also have a lot less upfront expenses. So the team is really taking on all of the risk. They're taking on all of the expense, and they're putting their faith in you that you're going to be able to go out and perform and succeed. So there's definitely pros and cons to each scenario. There's also some cons of working on a real estate team. And I feel like a lot of times this is very individual and specific to the person. So if you are a person that really has the desire to build your own thing, you likely will not enjoy being on a team, because a team is definitely a team. We all are succeeding together. And so in order to do that, though, the team has to have standards in place. So being able and having to adhere to the team standards, which might look like you need to show up for call challenge and lead generation 2 to 4 times a week. You might need to show up for script practice and role play 3 times a week. You might need to be on lead rotation on every other weekend. There's certain things that are standards that a team will have, and every team is going to be a little bit different as to what those standards are for them. But it has a little bit more structure in place of, if you want to be a team player, you want to be on the team, you need to follow these standards. Also, you're going to have to sell more homes in order to make the same amount of money as if you were a single agent. So, typically let's see, you might have to sell about double the amount of homes in order to make the same amount of take home as you would if you were a single agent. And a lot of people might think, well, that doesn't make much sense. Why wouldn't I just sell less homes and be an individual agent? And that obviously works for the majority of the people. So there's, about 12% of agents either are on a team or have a team. So, you do have to sell more homes. However, you also have to understand that what you're paying out to the team is basically reimbursing them for all of the upfront expenses, risk, and costs that they have put into the infrastructure, the staffing, the marketing and lead generation, and all of those things that allow you the opportunity to close more homes. And the other thing is that you have more leverage in place, so that you aren't doing the whole transaction from start to finish. You're doing a quarter of that process, and other people on the team are doing the other 75%. So I hope that makes sense. The other thing too is, kind of going back to what I was saying at the beginning, is when you're on a team, you're really building someone else's brand. So imagine if, you were, taking a listing and you wanted your name on the sign versus the team name on the sign. That might not be the case if you're working on a team. So if you are the type of person that you want your name to be on the sign, you want your name to be on the website and your name only, then once again, you probably will find yourself not being extremely satisfied in a team environment. So the other thing is the accountability and expectations. So every team will have accountability. We personally, we have coaching biweekly, and we also have certain targets that we expect our agents to be able to hit. If they're not hitting those, then we are really diving deep and understanding what's holding them back from meeting those expectations. And so just really it's kind of like going and getting a personal trainer at the gym, right? We don't always like that personal trainer, but we see the benefits of having the personal trainer. So the other thing is that the team is the limelight. It's really kind of like if you were going to a concert and you were to, go see a band where the whole band is the limelight, right? Versus one individual singer being the limelight. So, don't know if that makes sense for an analogy, but that just popped into my head. So now we're going to just jump into, really how do you choose the right brokerage? There are so many real estate companies out there, and each one has all of their own sets of, really good features that they have. And so it's important, though, to make sure that you are able to investigate and be able to find the right brokerage for you, because that really can truly determine your success or dissatisfaction of your real estate career, especially just as you're getting started. So some of the things that I would encourage you to take into consideration when you're interviewing with brokerages is really to find out what the culture looks and feels like within the office. What I found is that a lot of offices have their own vibe, their own energy or synergy within the office. And you want to be able to feel that you get that vibe, that you feel that you belong and that you fit in. So that's just, one thing that I feel is important, especially as you're new, because you want to be able to feel like you can ask questions, that people are welcoming you with open arms. If you need to shadow them, that they're open to that, and that it's not a competitive, type environment where they're not willing to share and help you grow in your business. You also want to determine what kind of training they have. Are you a better in-person, one-on-one do you learn better in that capacity? Do you learn better watching videos and doing everything online? I know that right now, with everything going on with the coronavirus, much of the training has gone online. But there are some different ways that you can still be able to connect with people and learn. So that's such a critical, probably one of the most critical things that you want to consider is the training that they have, talking to some of the other agents that have gone through the training to find out the pros and cons, how they liked it, what kind of support they got, and things of that nature. The other big important factor is understanding the technology that they offer. So if you aren't real big on technology, I would highly encourage you to start learning about technology if real estate is going to be an industry that you get involved in. And a lot of brokerages have been leaning on a lot of the old school methods. And then there's a couple of brokerages that have really kind of come out from the top, and they are leading the industry in technology. I do have to say, I feel like Keller Williams is one of those, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. Also, understanding what their values are and making sure that they align with yours. I think that that's important, because if you are somebody of good integrity and you align yourself with a brokerage where you're not feeling that, it's not going to be a good feeling and a good fit for you. You also want to be able to find out, are there other growth opportunities that are within the company that maybe are outside of actually being in real estate or being a realtor? And I know that might sound a little bit funny and strange, because you're like, I'm going there to be a realtor. However, you never know in life what paths or opportunities can present themselves. And so if you know that you're aligning yourself with a company that supports other growth opportunities, even to be able to also get additional income by taking on an additional role or things of that nature, those are things to also look at as well. And then lastly is their compensation plan. And I want you guys to know and understand, I purposely did not put that at the top. I purposely put it at the bottom. There's so many people that are just concerned about the bottom number of, as far as, how much is my broker getting and how much am I getting? And you really have to take a look at the value that you are getting from your broker. It's not just to hang your license there. Especially if you're new, you've got to be able to have support. You've got to be able to have training. You've got to be able to know what you're doing and have someone to lean on when you are in the middle of writing up an offer or in the middle of negotiations and you have a question, you need to be able to have that answered. You need to be able to have that support system in place. So it's so critically important, not just to hang your license where your friend is or where you're going to be making the most money when it gets to the closing table, because you're not going to close that deal if you don't know what you're doing. So wanted to also just share with you a little bit about Keller Williams. As I mentioned, this is not a recruiting session at all. I just wanted to, since we are having the conversation, just share with you very briefly a little bit about Keller Williams and why I chose to work at Keller Williams. They are absolutely phenomenal. They're actually number one in the nation. They have an amazing leadership. Gary Keller, who also wrote the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, is the CEO of our company and is still very, very much involved today. One of the biggest things that led me to Keller Williams was I loved their values of putting God first, family, and then business. I knew that if I aligned myself with a company that had those values, that everything else would fall into place. And that's just for me personally. Their training that they have is absolutely fantastic. I call it the boot camp of real estate. There is an Ignite class that they do, which also actually counts towards your 45-hour post-licensing that you would have to take within 2 years of getting your real estate license. And that class in itself is basically all the things that you need to know about actually being a real estate agent. And there, you'll go and you'll learn in the class, then you'll go out and do, and then you'll come back and you will share your experiences. It's just amazing. They also do offer business coaching as well. I personally have been had a business coach now for the past 12 years, and it has significantly helped me grow in my business. So much to the point that I actually went out and got my coaching certification, became a MAPS coach, and also coach other people in this industry. The technology that they have is absolutely fantastic. Gary Keller just invested millions of dollars in the artificial intelligence technology building. And the other really awesome thing is that they've built a CRM called Command, and it allows you to basically run your whole real estate business in one portal. Currently, right now, if you're not in Command, you have probably, I have an Excel spreadsheet that is about 2 pages long of passwords and logins for a lot of different websites, because we need all of these different resources to run our business. So we're moving over to the Command platform, which is absolutely fantastic. And then there's a lot of leadership opportunities. So each market center or each office is individually owned and operated, and there's just so much room for leadership within Keller Williams International as well, and also worldwide. The other thing that I really like is that they do have a profit sharing program, and this is, something that is willable for generations, so that if you were to pass away, your spouse could get your profit share, or your children, your grandchildren could get your profit share after you are gone. So that is another really fantastic feature. So with Keller Williams, just talking a little bit about the brokerage splits, it is a little bit different if you're an individual versus if you're on a team. But basically, as an individual agent, you are on a 70-30 split. So you get 70% of your commission, up to, once you've paid in $21,000 into the brokerage, then you're at 100% up to your yearly anniversary. And so typically an agent that is producing or closing about $2 million worth of business, they will cap out at that $21,000 and make 100% of their commissions thereafter, which is one reason why Keller Williams is very popular with high producing agents, but it also is extremely popular for newer agents because of the training that they have. They also have Keller Williams University. The training, I honestly consider Keller Williams a training company that happens to sell real estate. And so it's just a really good setup. If you're on a team, then your split with Keller Williams is actually half of that. So you are paying in $12,000 to Keller Williams, and then you also have a separate split with your team that is mutually agreed upon in your agent agreement, in your team agreement. So this right here just shows you, this is the website here that you can check out on kw.com. And it really just gives you some good information if you want to dive deeper into some of the different aspects about Keller Williams, their technology, their global reach. There's their mission statement, their vision statement, and their values that are all very good. If you click on these, then you'll be able to, there'll be videos that you can watch and different things like that. This is the command platform that I was telling you guys about, and then also what the consumer platform also shows. So be sure to check that out on kellerwilliams.com. All right, so that concludes the information that I have to share. We will definitely open it back up, and if you want to put in your questions through the chat, you can certainly do that, or you can also email me directly. And I just so greatly appreciate everyone's time today, and certainly hope that this information has been helpful for you in being able to determine if a real estate career is the right thing for you. And if so, we'd love to be able to talk with you about that a little bit further if that's something that you're interested in. Love to just be able to help in any way possible, okay? So I hope that y'all have a wonderful evening.